Morning all, welcome. And I'm wearing the gold Vegas. And yeah, it is that itchy fabric. When it sparkles like that, it's gonna be that itchy fabric. I think that's why this was delayed, to be honest. Because I've seen Vegas fencing that seemed to be delayed. I think that's what it was. I think they gave up on finding a way. All they had to do, if they could just put, anyway, doesn't matter. Alright. Um Derek Brassard. Derek Brassard is currently without an NHL contract. He has apparently been receiving offers from overseas, from European leagues to sign. And he has said no to this point. He wants to play in the National Hockey League. Brassard's a useful fourth line center. I'm kind of surprised he doesn't have a contract yet myself. You would think he could be had for not a lot of money, and that there are some teams that have enough cap space to sign him that I would think would probably circle back to him. I am surprised. I'm not saying that he'd have a fantastic season somewhere. Just he's a useful fourth line center, and I'm a little bit surprised at him being out of work. But there's a lot of guys who are without contracts right now. I'm surprised by. Anyway, so best of luck to him in finding a good fit and having a spot to play in what we hope will be 6 weeks' time. Cody Glass. He's added 13 pounds to his frame since February. So he believes that in his first time around with the NHL and in the action he played in, that he got pushed off the puck a little too easily. And he needs to be more ready for the one-on-one battles, which is something that there are some prospects, they don't worry about adding that extra weight. And then with Glass, I've got to commend him. Now, if he's gone from 194 to 207 and doesn't give up any of his speed, I commend him even further. But it doesn't affect his game in any negative fashion, and it can. I've seen instances where a player will add weight for strength and then it affects another part of his game. So he has to find that balance. But sounds like Glass is on the right track, and yeah, kudos to him for being one of those kids that says, all right, I got to toughen up. And best of luck to him. And for Vegas fans, I know they're looking forward to seeing what Glass can do this coming season. Marcus Sorensen has been recalled by the San Jose Sharks. This is another one of those signals, right, where teams are recalling players. We've seen on Twitter that the Arizona Coyotes have been doing workouts and holding workouts. So teams are getting players back, and for San Jose, of course, they're one of the 7 teams that didn't make the play-in. So they will definitely be calling players back and calling players up. And you're just going to see the European players, for the most part, being in the news, because if you're American, if you're Canadian, and if you're already in the country that your team plays in, you just go to the building. It doesn't really end up being big news until the actual training camp starts. OEL, this is interesting too. OEL's back in Arizona, and he's still being asked, so you sure you didn't want to get traded? Because you sure? And he's basically saying, yeah, I didn't really want to leave Arizona. And he makes a good point. He signed an 8-year contract because he wanted to stay in Arizona. He accepted the job as their captain because he wanted to stay in Arizona. And he feels that his sticking to his guns on this reveals he wants to be in Arizona. Again, during the summer, during the off season, which is during the fall, which it's so weird. This whole year's been weird. OEL said, yeah, I'll waive my no trade to go to Vancouver or Boston. And I still think, I don't have any reason to say this other than a hunch, I still think he said that knowing deep down they're not going to be able to make a deal. My contract would not work for Vancouver, and I can't see Boston having what I need. But sure, no, I'll waive to go there. Sure. And then when they went to him and said, would you expand that? He said no. He said no. If he wanted out of Arizona, he would have just said, yeah, I'll just waive it. Go ahead. Get whatever you can. And it's one of those situations where I kind of feel bad for the player, because somebody somewhere may have heard that and said he's being selfish. We need, for what's best for the team is we get that contract off the team. Somebody somewhere likely was saying that. Because I've seen it with players over the years where fans will say, that player's being selfish. Why doesn't he let us trade him for the sake of the team? He signed a no movement clause or a no trade clause. They gave that to him, and now he's using what they gave him, and people say, oh, he's so selfish. All right, So I'm glad OEL is staying in Arizona. It would be weird to see him in another jersey. Holtby, Braden Holtby. So this was something I thought about doing kind of a joke video of, and I thought, nah, I'm not going to bother. Holtby's tortoises are now in Canada, so he had filed the paperwork needed to get them out of the States. I believe it was he had filed the paperwork to get them out of the States. He had not filed the paperwork to get them into Canada. So you get to the border, and the Canadian border goes, nah, this is American paperwork. And you know what's interesting, too, is I know from having crossed the border as much as I do, it is amazing how much they don't talk to each other, even though they're right next to each other. You got the Americans right here, the Canadians right, and they don't have the same system. They don't have the same way of checking anything, and yeah, it's not the same. Which is weird because you would think it would be synchronized between the U.S. and Canada. It's one thing that I'd like to see at the border, which is if the Americans are aware of something, the Canadians should be, and vice versa. So they go, oh yeah, this paperwork, this in Holtby's case, this paperwork that's good. All right, you're good, you're fine. Bring the tortoises / turtles into the country, and they're now in the country. So kudos to him. And it was big news around here that Holtby's turtles weren't allowed into the country yet, because again we're starved for sports news. We're like, yes, and that's why I'm seeing already a bunch of discussions of the CFL. The CFL's released their 2021 schedule, and it starts in, I think it's roughly 29 weeks time. And I'm already seeing, all right, here's what the BC Lions need to do. Here's what's going on with the Argos. Here's what's, because again, we're still starved for North American sports for the most part. MLS, I know, is still going through what they're going through, and they're figuring things out. And I think Toronto FC is the only Canadian team left that might be able to get her done. But in general, on the Canadian side of the border especially, it's big news when Holtby's turtles are allowed into Canada. Dallas update, and it's kind of an update in that both Tyler Seguin and Ben Bishop are in rehab for both of their surgeries, but it hasn't changed the timeline, and I don't think it will. They're both pretty major surgeries that they had, and I can't see their timelines necessarily getting pushed up. And if it is, it'll probably be like maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. And it basically means that both of them will miss most of, if not all, the regular season, depending on when the regular season starts and ends. And again, circling back, the NHL and the NHLPA are still talking daily. So, of course, we heard during the week that there was this fallout, and the owners wanted the players to defer more money, and they wanted to get more cash put into escrow. The fact that they're still talking daily is really important. When things are bad, they stop talking. When things are bad, the players come out and say, no, we're done with them, they're jerks, to paraphrase. And the owners will come out and go, they want to make us broke. And that's basically when you know things are going bad, is that the owners and the players both start fighting that public relations battle, which has not happened yet. The upset at what the NHL asked for with more deferral and everything came out through, I know there was Nick Kypreos was one that was reporting, and he does have contact with players, and there were a few others that were reporting on it. But there hasn't been an official statement. And until we get to the point where there's an official statement, or there's a lot of complaining on the player's side or on the owner's side, they're still working on getting it done. So, again, we're roughly about 6 weeks out from where the season is supposed to start. If it's January 1st, we've probably got one more week until that start date becomes impossible. It's still possible right now. It's still possible till about the end of the month. And then after that, the start date gets pushed back into probably the middle of January. But, we'll see what they end up doing. And then once they confirm what they're doing, I'll be able to do videos on what they're doing and how we're going to make this work. And I do still think they're going to find a way to make it work, because it's important. This is a very, very important year to the NHL financially, not just for this season, not just because of the financial shortcomings they had last season, but because of the next 10 years coming up after this season, due to the TV contract, Seattle coming in, and all of these other things that are going to happen. They need to find a way to get a regular season played. and I'll be here to report on it when/if that happens. And there is still that if. So I've been doing a lot of work on my jersey countdown and where jerseys like these new ones will end up and that kind of thing. And if we don't get a season, congratulations, you guys are going to get the most comprehensive jersey countdown I've ever done. And so for anybody who's like, oh, is it in the collection? The answer is probably yes. And so that set of videos would definitely confirm that. But there you go. I do think we get an NHL season. I think the fact that players are still being recalled, the fact that, you know, Arizona's got guys on the ice working out and everything, it's all costs money. And you know, it's one of those things that all of the signs point to them working it out. So I try to ignore some of the noise and focus on, yeah, they'll probably get it all worked out. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, I will talk to you guys again soon.